Many grocery items go through cycles of shortages due to supply chain issues, high demand, and seasonal change, and April 2025 is shaping up to be no different. Some everyday essentials might become incredibly hard to find, whether it's production slowdowns, ingredient shortages, or unexpected surges in popularity. But before we get into the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel because we're going to be uploading some more videos about items that you might not find in April. Now, from breakfast must-haves to snack time staples, these items are flying off shelves, and once they're gone, they might not be back for a while. So grab your cart, sharpen your elbows, and now let's dive into the list of the soon-to-be impossible finds before it's too late. Number 12, shelf-stable cheese. No grilled cheese, no mac and cheese, no nachos dripping with melty goodness. Just imagine that for a second. That's depressing, right? Cheese isn't just food, it's comfort, nostalgia, and just pure magic. But here's the problem. Fresh cheese is fragile. Without refrigeration, it's gone. And if disaster strikes, talking power outages, food shortages, skyrocketing prices, well, you're out of luck. That's why shelf-stable cheese is a survival essential. Canned, freeze-dried, and wax-sealed cheeses can last 10 to 25 years without spoiling. Just rehydrate, and boom, cheesy, satisfying meals are still on the menu. Mac and cheese? Easy. Cheesy mashed potatoes? No problem. Even homemade pizza? Totally doable. But this isn't just about flavor, it's about survival. Cheese is packed with protein, calcium, and essential fats, making it a powerhouse when resources get scarce. Plus, eating the same bland foods day in and day out is soul-crushing. A sprinkle of cheese can transform even the simplest meals, rice, beans, and crackers, into something really enjoyable. So let's be honest, how many of your favorite meals include cheese? Could you really go months or years without it? Well, if not, stock up now, because a world without cheese, that's a world that's not worth living in. Number 11, margarine. Remember when margarine ruled the breakfast table? Slathered on toast, swirled into mashed potatoes, and baked into grandma's cookies? It was everywhere. But now, well, it's quietly disappearing from grocery shelves, and let's be real, no one is really mourning the loss. Why? Well, because people are waking up to what's in their food. Margarine was once packed with trans fats, the heart-clogging villain of the nutritional world. Now, even though today's versions are, quote, healthier, the damage to its reputation was already done. So who wants a butter substitute with ingredients that sound like a science experiment? Meanwhile, real butter is back. Grass-fed butter, ghee, and even plant-based spreads made from avocado, coconut, and cashews are taking over. They're simpler, tastier, and actually real food. But let's be honest, no chef worth their salt is reaching for margarine when rich, creamy butter is an option. Here's a fun fact. Margarine was actually invented in the 1860s for Napoleon III's army as a cheap butter alternative. Fast forward, and it somehow became the healthier choice, until science proved otherwise. Now shoppers want natural fats, clean labels, and fewer processed foods. And margarine, it just doesn't make the cut. So if you're still a margarine fan, you better stock up, because by April of 2025, it might be as rare as a perfectly ripe avocado. Number 10, powdered eggs. Whether you're dreaming of fluffy omelets, golden pancakes, or gooey chocolate chip cookies, eggs are the backbone of comfort food. But fresh eggs, they spoil fast, they crack easily, and need refrigeration, which is pretty inconvenient when you're prepping for long-term survival. That's why powdered eggs are a total game changer. They last up to 10 years. They take up almost no space, and all it takes is a little water to bring them back to life. Omelets? Back on the menu. Scrambled eggs? No problem. Baked goods? You bet. Now, if you think powdered eggs are some modern-day gimmick, think again. They've been saving breakfast since World War II. Fresh eggs were a luxury back then, so soldiers and civilians alike relied on powdered eggs to get their meals going. Now, even NASA used them in space missions because when you're floating in zero gravity, you don't want a dozen fresh eggs cracking and making a mess in your spaceship. If they're good enough for the astronauts, they're definitely good enough for your emergency stash. But here's the best part. Powdered eggs aren't just a backup plan, they're a survival superfood. They're packed with protein, vitamins, and healthy fats, keeping you energized and full when supplies run low. Imagine running out of eggs in the middle of baking, or worse, craving a big breakfast during a crisis and realizing that there's no way to get more. That's an eggless nightmare you don't want to experience. And during wartime rationing, eggs were so valuable that people used them as currency. Could you imagine a future where powdered eggs become the new gold standard in bartering? It's not as crazy as it sounds. Whether you're trading with neighbors or just making sure you never have to go without a proper breakfast, powdered eggs are a must-have for any serious stockpile. So ask yourself, could you go months without eggs? If the thought alone made you panic, it's time to stock up before it's too late. Number 9, powdered drink mixes. Now, first, margarine started disappearing, and now powdered drink mixes are on the chopping block. Remember those neon-colored lemonade and fruit punch packets? Just rip them, stir them, and boom, instant sugary refreshment. But be honest, when was the last time you actually bought one? Well, it turns out these artificial drink powders might not make it past April of 2025. Why? Well, because today's shoppers are ditching fake flavors, artificial sweeteners, and chemical-packed drinks for healthier, real ingredient alternatives. A 2024 survey found that millennials and Gen Z are swapping powdered sports drinks for cold-pressed juices, electrolyte-infused waters, and functional drinks like kombucha. Meanwhile, TikTok is flooded with DIY drink recipes that make fresh lemonade or homemade electrolyte water just as easy, but way better. And let's talk packaging. Single-use plastic pouches, they don't stand a chance in today's eco-conscious world. More people are demanding sustainable, refillable options, and powdered mixes, they just can't keep up. So is this the end? It looks like it. Between cleaner ingredients, sustainability trends, and the rise of homemade drinks, those once-loved pantry staples are running out of time. So if you're a diehard fan, you may want to stock up now before they vanish for good. Number 8, hardtack. Now, fresh bread won't last in a long-term food crisis, but hardtack, it will. This nearly indestructible survival bread has been keeping people alive for centuries. Made from just flour, water, and salt, it's so tough that Civil War soldiers named it tooth dullers because biting into it felt like chewing on a rock. But don't let that scare you. Once softened in soup, tea, or even plain water, it transforms into a hearty, filling meal that can last for decades if stored properly. Hardtack's been a survival staple since the 1800s, carried by sailors, soldiers, and pioneers all crossing the frontier. This isn't just some random old-timey snack. It's literally been found in shipwrecks hundreds of years old and was still technically edible. Some Civil War-era hardtack is even preserved in museums today, proving just how long this stuff can last. It might not win any culinary awards, but when it comes to durability, affordability, and reliability, nothing else even comes close. And the best part? Well, you don't have to be a soldier or a pioneer to make it. With just 3 basic ingredients, you can whip up a batch at home. Once baked, it becomes nearly indestructible, but paired with soup, peanut butter, or a little jam, and it actually becomes, dare I say, decent? Yeah, well, when disaster strikes, you're not looking for a gourmet meal. You need something reliable, filling, and built to last. So imagine running out of bread in the middle of an emergency. No sandwiches, no toast, no way to soak up soup. Wouldn't it be nice to have a backup plan that never goes bad? Well, hardtack has survived wars, ocean voyages, and the Wild West, so if history's taught us anything, it's that this rock-solid biscuit might just outlast all of us. So the real question is, will you be one to stockpile it, or wishing that you had? Number 7, box cake mixes. If powdered drink mixes disappearing was a shock, brace yourself. Box cake mixes are next. Once a last-minute savior for birthdays and bake sales, these pantry staples are quietly vanishing. And honestly, it kind of makes sense. People are ditching artificial ingredients and realizing that homemade baking, it's not that hard. Thanks to TikTok and Instagram, scratch baking is booming. And why settle for a preservative-laden mix when you can whip up a bakery-worthy cake with just a few fresh ingredients? And also, let's talk taste. Box cakes have that signature meh flavor. It's sweet but generic. Meanwhile, homemade cakes can deliver richer flavors, better texture, and actual vanilla, not just vaguely sweet. Plus, who even needs a mix when you can grab a ready-made gourmet cake from the store? With bakeries offering artisan cupcakes and show-stopping cakes, fewer people are reaching for a box. At this rate, box cake mixes might become a mid-century relic, right alongside Jell-O salads and canned meatloaf. Unless brands reinvent their formulas to match today's ingredient-conscious shoppers, they could disappear by April of 2025. So if you're still a box cake mix fan, you may want to stock up before they're just a sweet memory. Number 6, canned butter and ghee. What's bread without butter? Dry, sad, and honestly a little depressing. That's why canned butter and ghee are absolute survival must-haves. These shelf-stable fats add richness, flavor, and essential calories to your meals without needing refrigeration. Because let's be real, what's the point of having survival bread if you don't have something to slather on top? Butter is usually one of the first things to disappear in a crisis, and once it's gone, you're left with dry food and a serious case of flavor deprivation. But canned butter changes the game. It stays fresh for years, ready to melt into mashed potatoes, spread onto hardtack, or add creamy goodness to any dish. It's like a little taste of normal life, no matter how bad things get. And if you want to take it up a notch, ghee, its even more powerful cousin, might just be the ultimate survival fat. Ghee has been a staple in Indian and Middle Eastern cooking for thousands of years, and for good reason. It's butter that's been cooked down to remove moisture, which means it doesn't spoil and has an insane shelf life. How insane? Well, some cultures have literally buried ghee for over a century, and it was still edible. Meaning that if you stockpile it now, you might just be passing it down to your grandkids. Imagine cracking open a jar decades from now and still getting that smooth golden richness. Now that is a survival food worth having. Now beyond just making food taste better, these fats are critical for survival. In an emergency, high-calorie foods keep you going, and fat is one of the most efficient sources of long-lasting energy. Plus, both butter and ghee are packed with essential fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, which can help support your immune system and keep your body functioning properly. And here's something wild. During World War II, when butter shortages hit hard, people got desperate and started making wartime butter out of mashed potatoes and a little milk. And no one wants to go through that again, so why not avoid the struggle and stock up now? Because when everything goes south, wouldn't it be nice to have that creamy golden goodness to make survival feel just a little more civilized? I thought so. Number 5, instant gravy packets. If boxed cake mixes are getting the boot, you better believe that instant gravy packets are next in line. For decades, these little powdered gravy packets have been a lifesaver for busy families. You just add water, you stir, and suddenly you have a sauce that kind of resembles homemade gravy. But here's the thing, we've wised up. People are flipping those packets over, reading the ingredients, and realizing that they're basically science experiments disguised as comfort food. With sky-high sodium, artificial thickeners, and preservatives that sound like they belong in a chemistry lab, instant gravy, it's not cutting it anymore. Turns out, making gravy from scratch, real gravy, it's not nearly as intimidating as we once thought. In fact, social media has made it ridiculously easy. One quick TikTok or Instagram reel, and suddenly everyone knows how to whisk up a rich, flavorful gravy with just a few pantry staples. A little butter, a little flour, and the drippings of whatever you've just cooked, and boom, real gravy. No weird additives, no powdery aftertaste, just pure savory goodness. And if you really don't want to make your own, grocery stores, they've got your back. Pre-made fresh gravies in the refrigerated section are quickly replacing the need for a powdered alternative. The ready-to-heat options offer better flavor, better ingredients, and none of that slightly off taste that instant mixes always seem to have. Why settle for a packet when you can grab a rich, flavorful gravy made with a real stock and actual seasoning? Another reason that gravy packets are fading fast? They're kind of boring. Most instant gravy brands offer the same basic flavors. Brown, turkey, chicken, maybe mushroom if they're feeling adventurous, but today's home cooks want variety. They're experimenting with garlic-infused gravies, umami-packed miso gravies, and even chipotle gravies, flavors that powdered mixes just can't deliver. As home cooking trends lean toward fresh, high-quality ingredients and customizable ingredients, instant gravy packs are starting to feel like a relic of the past. So whether people are whisking up their own from scratch or grabbing a fresh store-bought version, one thing's clear. Those dusty little packets, they're running out of time. So if you're still clinging to instant gravy, you may want to stash a few away for nostalgia's sake. Because before you know it, they could be as rare as someone who actually follows the gravy should never touch my mashed potatoes rule. Number 4, instant mashed potatoes. And what better to pair with butter and ghee than a steaming bowl of mashed potatoes? When it comes to comfort food that's easy, filling, and practically effortless, instant mashed potatoes are the ultimate survival MVP. You just add water, or better yet, a little canned butter or ghee, and boom, you've got a warm, hearty meal in minutes. Potatoes have literally saved lives throughout history. Just ask Ireland, where they were the backbone of the diet for centuries. When the Great Famine hit in the 1800s, it was because of a potato blight that wiped out crops, proving just how essential spuds were for survival. And if history taught us anything, it's this: never take spuds for granted. They're packed with carbs for energy, fiber to keep you full, and essential nutrients like potassium and vitamin C, things that your body desperately needs in a crisis. But here's the problem. Fresh potatoes, they don't last forever. They'll sprout, they'll rot, and attract pests if not stored properly. Instant mashed potatoes, though, on the other hand, they can last up to 10 years when sealed and stored correctly. That's a decade of fluffy, delicious potatoes without worrying about spoilage. And they're not just great on their own, you can mix them into soups for extra creaminess, use them to thicken a stew, or even turn them into survival-friendly potato pancakes. Versatility? You bet. And let's not forget about the space connection. During the space race, NASA considered dehydrated potatoes as astronaut food because it's lightweight, nutritious, and ridiculously easy to prepare. If they're good enough for space, they're definitely good enough for your survival stockpile. Now imagine this, a food crisis, cold nights, and stressful days, and limited options. Wouldn't it be nice to still enjoy a warm, buttery bowl of mashed potatoes? The convenience, the comfort, and pure satisfaction, it's all something that you don't want to go without. So the real question is, are you going to stock up, or are you going to risk a spudless future? Because let's be honest, a world without mashed potatoes is a world that no one wants to live in. Get them now before you're left with nothing but regret and an empty plate. Number 3, hydrogenated oils. Now, if processed cheese slices are disappearing, then hydrogenated oils are on an even faster track to extinction. For decades, these oils were the secret behind flaky pastries, crispy fries, and cookies that somehow never went stale. They made everything taste better and last forever, but that insane shelf life came with a pretty serious downside. Hydrogenated oils are loaded with trans fats, aka the ultimate villain in heart health. And let's be honest, when the FDA bans something, you know it's bad news. In 2018, the US officially kicked partially hydrogenated oils to the curb, forcing food manufacturers to scramble for an alternative. But their sneaky cousin, fully hydrogenated oils, has managed to stick around. For now. But not much longer, though. By April of 2025, these last remnants of hydrogenated fats will likely be under the microscope, and chances are they'll be completely phased out as a crackdown on trans fats continues. So why were hydrogenated oils everywhere in the first place? Well, they kept food from spoiling. That's why your grandma's cookies in 1998 still look suspiciously fresh today, but today's consumers are all about fresher, cleaner ingredients, even if that means a shorter shelf life. With the rise of organic, non-GMO, and minimally processed foods, we're no longer needing Franken oils to stop our snacks from going stale. So if you still have a pack of old-school cookies with hydrogenated oils, you may want to check the expiration date, or better yet, just let them go. Because by April 2025, these once popular ingredients will be as outdated as a Blockbuster membership card. Number 2, freeze-dried meat. Now, fresh meat is one of the things that can vanish first in a crisis. Unless you've got a farm, a fully stocked freezer with endless power, or the skills of a master hunter, getting enough protein can be a serious struggle, which is why freeze-dried meat is a total game changer. It can last over 25 years, it keeps nearly all of its original flavor and nutrition, and can rehydrate in minutes. 1 second, it's a lightweight, crunchy bite, and the next, well, it's juicy, tender, and ready to eat. And no, this isn't some new survivalist hack. The Incas were ahead of the game, using an early version of freeze-drying in the Andes Mountains to preserve food for long journeys. Fast forward to today, and NASA depends on freeze-dried meat to feed astronauts in space. Why? Well, because it's lightweight, packed with protein, and practically immortal. If it's good enough for astronauts floating in zero gravity, it's definitely good enough for your emergency stash. But let's be real. This isn't just about survival, it's about eating well when things go bad. You're not stuck with bland, boring rations. Freeze-dried meat comes in chicken, beef, turkey, and even bacon, meaning that you can still whip up tacos, stews, barbecue, or even just a solid sandwich when fresh meat is a distant memory. Plus, when stress gets high, your body craves protein to stay energized and strong. In a crisis, protein's not a luxury, it's survival fuel. Now, picture this: empty grocery store shelves, fresh meat long gone, and nothing but canned beans and rice to get you through. Sounds rough, right? But imagine opening your stockpile and pulling out freeze-dried steak or chicken. Now suddenly you're not just surviving, you're thriving. So when fresh meat becomes a luxury, will you be the one still enjoying it or the one wishing that you had stocked up? Get your supply now before it's too late. And number 1, honey. What's a meal without a little sweetness? If there's one food that deserves the title of immortal, it's honey. This golden nectar never expires. Seriously, archaeologists discovered 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs, and it was still perfectly edible. If it could survive the test of time and mummies, it could definitely handle your emergency pantry. But honey's not just about sweetness, it's a survival powerhouse, packed with natural energy, which makes it a perfect source of quick fuel when you need a boost. It's also an incredible natural medicine with antibacterial, antifungal, and wound-healing properties. In ancient times, warriors used honey to treat battle wounds, and even today, hospitals use medical-grade honey for burn victims. Got a sore throat? Honey. Need to disinfect a cut? Honey. Looking for an all-natural cough syrup? Yep, honey again. Let's talk about versatility. You can drizzle it over hardtack, stir it into tea, mix it with peanut butter, or use it as a natural preservative for fruits and nuts. Now, unlike sugar, which can spike and crash your energy, honey provides a steady source of fuel, perfect for when food is scarce and when you need to stay alert. Here's a wild fact. Bees travel about 55,000 miles to produce just 1 pound of honey. That's twice around the Earth. Considering all that effort, it'd be a shame not to keep a few jars around. Imagine a world without honey. No natural sweetener, no quick energy source, no ancient superfood in your pantry. It's pretty bleak, right? So the real question is, will you be the one enjoying the endless benefits or wishing that you had stocked up? As we inch closer to April of 2025, it's clear the grocery aisles are changing fast. The foods that we once relied on, from boxed cake mixes to powdered drinks, margarine, and instant gravy, are all slowly disappearing, replaced by fresher, cleaner, and more modern alternatives. Some are being phased out due to health concerns, others because of shifting consumer trends, and a few are simply losing their place in today's food culture. So what does that mean for you? Well, if any of these soon-to-be extinct grocery staples hold a special place in your pantry, now is the time to stock up, because once they're gone, they may not be coming back. So whether you're nostalgic for the classics or just want to be prepared, don't wait until you're staring at empty shelves. These 12 grocery items are running out of time. Are you going to be ready?